Welcome to Table for Four. I'm Connor,
I'm Gibson.
I'm Gavin.
And I am Matthew.
and today we're gonna have a discussion about the series Resident Evil. Resident Evil is,
Can I just say that's like the best intro we've ever had?
yeah,
Where we actually knew what we were doing.
that's because I didn't make it very obvious as to Resident Evil is a game released in 1996, published by Capcom. It's a game that focuses around survival horror in a mansion filled with zombies, scary zombies.
But only the first one.
Only the first three in Code Veronica.
The second one's not in the mansion.
I thought you were talking about
The
zombies.
mansion kind of blows up.
I thought you were talking about zombies. Never
No.
mind. Yeah, the first one takes place in the mansion. No more of them. But the discussion is going to revolve around, we're going to go over each of the games, talk about them, the plot, what we liked, what we didn't like, and at the end we'll talk about
what could be better.
what could be better, if they're bad, and at the end we'll talk about what we want for a new Resident Evil game, if they make one. The first game was great because it kind of started the whole survival horror thing, and it was really different because PlayStation was a little more child friendly with the Spyro and the Crash and all that.
Very much, yeah.
And then we see zombies popping up, scary,
Dude, this
scary,
game,
spooky
though,
zombies.
Like, if you play it now, it doesn't seem like much.
It's not scary now.
No, but like that's because we're also desensitized. to
I don't know
that
what you
stuff.
guys are talking about. Like when the dogs jump through the window.
Okay, now
Oh,
that would scare anybody.
Jump scares. It's real.
But like that first scene where like the zombie turns around like ooh, that was like the scariest thing in
Especially when
1996.
you're a kid, like I was 2 years old when this game came out, man. Like
I remember a story from my parents. My parents loved this game. That's how I got into it. It's my parents played it and I played it. But it was back in the days where you could rent a console at the store and everything. And they rented that. They invited a bunch of people over to play it. And like they were playing it before people got there. They didn't remember they invited people, so they heard like the knock, knock, knock on the door, and they like jumped out of their pants, man.
that's awesome.
It was hilarious.
It's definitely it's such a unique series. Like it really did start off as survival horror. Just the controller setup, man.
The controller setup
I
was.
just have to throw this out.
Okay.
Go yes.
Yeah, it's a discussion.
Matthew,
You don't have to be like,
you
can
haven't
I
said, like,
talk?
anything yet.
Just
Go
jump
I haven't
ahead.
said anything because I haven't had anything to say. You
Well,
guys,
talk about the controller.
There's my sweet spot. I kind of really hate the controller setup. Like, it's not even controllers. Well, it's like the camera setup and how that has to do with it. Like, it's third person set camera, which means you don't have any control over the camera except for when you move to a different screen. It
If
like
you want to count that as control,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like
I wouldn't say that's control over it.
it's really not. And then there's like tank movement, which you said when did they get rid of it? Like
6.
six doesn't have tank movement, and that's good, but we'll get there. But like 6 was apparently bad.
He hates tank movement.
Yeah, and so like I've recently learned that from 2 on though, even though you have tank movement, you're allowed to move like diagonal directionals, which is good. It's like a step in the right direction, but I still hate it.
It's not exactly diagonal. It's just that you can tilt left or right while you're moving.
So it's like a
forward.
kind of a curve.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
curve your.
You curve your path.
That's still less good.
Like to go straight from moving forward to moving left, you still have to stop and do the turn
Right.
and then go.
There's
Right.
no actual diagonal.
I
Right.
see.
It's disgusting. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I think for the slower pace, like Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, after you get out of the streets, there's never really a reason to be running like that. So I think the slower controls are fine for those settings.
Honestly,
Well, like-
I think the camera setup and the controls really add to the atmosphere of the entire game series because it just kind of it makes you feel slow and clunky as far as the controls, which gives you a bigger adrenaline rush when you're trying to do something and zombies are chasing you.
there's
And then the whole
Sorry.
camera setup, yeah, you're sorry. It's fine. Like, I'll be done in a second. The camera setup, you don't have control over the camera. And I think that really adds to the atmosphere and just makes it even scarier because like when you change areas, something like you're at a different angle entirely, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I like it because you know the zombie's there, but because the camera changes, you can't see them.
Yeah.
And that sort of knowing they're there but not knowing how close, that really does well to build the tension. But I remember when I played the first Resident Evil, there were certain rooms where it was kind of wonky because if you stood close enough to the border, you'd have one setup, but as soon as you swung the knife, it pushed you
Oh
forward
yeah,
enough.
that's a
It's-
great thing.
So you kind of had a flicker screen where you're in one screen, you
Yes.
forward with the knife, and it goes into the second, and because you reset your position, it goes back to you,
It's like a stutter.
and that can be kind of weird.
I always hated that.
They should have. I think there should have been a bit better planning to the smaller rooms, but in the big rooms, I think it really works well.
In the first Resident Evil, anyway, there weren't many big rooms. It was pretty much all small rooms. So
Close space.
really,
Long hallways, I think, were fine.
I mean, for the most part, yeah. I remember some of the hallways in the first one. Like, you would walk upstairs and you're in kind of like a lobby almost area, and there's a hallway going down. And if you start going down there, of course, it changes the camera angle entirely. You can't see down the hallway at the top of the stairs or anything. But as you're going down the hallway, it'll move up closer
yeah.
to the other end. That's kind of frustrating in my mind because I didn't expect anything like that. So it changes how you're controlling your character.
Yeah. Nowadays, controllers game like that wouldn't even fly.
Oh,
It wouldn't happen.
You
no.
don't think so?
No,
It's too clunky.
See-
not the camera or not the camera setup with the controller setup. It just wouldn't fly.
Like, it's just like one of my biggest issues with it, and like it can be forgiven because it's just like you can't go back and change that stuff. You can't just like go back in the past. That's no. I can't tell what's happening in the first couple of Resident Evil games, like because of not just because of the camera setup, but like it would be aided if the camera was like attached to your back, like if it was over the shoulder.
A lot of people describe it as like security camera.
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
good way to describe
That's
it.
a really good way to describe it.
If it weren't security camera, if it was like, I feel like if it was almost anything else, I would be more okay with it. It's just,
First person.
I don't know. I haven't even looked at it. But like one of my biggest problems is like the graphics on it, and it's just like you can't go back and change it. But it's like that's part of the reason it's dated, at least for me, so much. I go back and I look at it, and it's just like I can't tell
I wouldn't
what is
try
what.
to bash the graphics.
I think
not
that's
bashing,
more of
that's
the
what I was-
lighting scheme.
I understand you're not trying to,
Yeah.
but like I wouldn't even go and like talk about that as far as like being bad or anything, just because of the time period and everything was still being
Well,
developed.
That was like the end of my comment though. It was just like it didn't date well for me.
Honestly, I think the tank controls complement the security camera really well. Because in some older games, if, like how Gavin was talking about, if you had a hallway and the camera started at one end and then it jumps to the other end, if you're holding down to move forward in the hallway, because that's how the camera is set up, as soon as the camera changes, your down suddenly pushes you the other way into the first camera, and you get in this loop of jumping in between cameras because your character doesn't have a set movement. So having forward be forward for the character helps.
Yeah, I definitely
mitigate
agree with that. I don't know, can we just take a moment to appreciate the just incredible voice acting in this
Oh
game?
my goodness. This game's full of the best lines you'll ever hear by the best voice actors you'll ever hear.
It's so fantastic.
Like,
These people must be billionaires just from this game alone.
it's fantastic. It's literally the best.
So bad.
Like,
so bad.
it doesn't even like take a minute. Like, oh hey, this is kind of good. Oh god, it's awful. It's already awful at the start.
It starts that way.
It's so bad. Like the game starts, you walk in the mansion and like this is when you're playing as Jill. I think I don't know if you play with Chris and you do this. You walk in with Wesker and Barry,
Yeah.
and like it's like Wesker's like, oh, Chris is missing, and Jill's like, I'll go look for him, and Barry's like, I'll go too. Chris was our old partner, you know.
As
It's
if
like,
they
oh,
weren't already
goodness.
part of the same squad.
Exactly. And then Barry, like the thing as a whole, it's pretty silly. But Barry takes the cake in terms of amazing lines.
I have like I've played a little bit of it with you. It was that the one. I'm not gonna like say it. Was it Jill Sandwich?
Yes.
Yeah, Jill walks into this room and both of the doors lock because you took this shotgun off the wall and they lifted a mechanism. But like the ceiling starts falling. And it's going real slow, like, and you're just sitting there like, well, fuck, I'm dead now.
And
You
you're
can't.
checking both doors, and they're both locked.
They're both locked, and then Barry comes in, like, blows the door open, and he's like, that was close. You were almost a Jill Sandwich. It was like, oh yeah, and then she's like, oh, Barry. It was like, oh,
It's like,
God.
what are you even doing over here?
Yeah, but like they're like, okay, we'll each check the opposite side of the house, and he just like pops up like, oh hey, by the way, I'm here. It was pretty great.
I mean, even the intro, like before.
Oh, the FMV intro.
Yes.
Oh man.
Like I watched that alone, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play this. This is awful. I
Pretty
didn't
great.
play the original Resident Evil as a kid. Like I.
It's pretty great.
It would blow my mind if a modern game brought back like full real life acting FMVs.
FMV.
That'd be
Well,
great.
Alien War did something like that with like the
Did
facial
it?
capture, but
Oh, wasn't that just like basing the in-game art off of real people's faces? Not
like they
actually...
mocapped people's faces.
Right.
That's all. That's pretty much as close to FMV as you'll get nowadays.
But I think it'd be hilarious. It probably wouldn't do well,
But it'd be hilarious.
but it'd be hilarious. I think that'd be worth it.
Yeah. Like as much as I hate tank controls and like the security camera view, it's like, I think if they did make a game like that today, and everything, and like I said, I'm not blaming it on the graphics. It's just like, if they made it with updated graphics today, I'd like to play it just to see if I could handle
You
it.
should play the remake.
You should play
The remake is fantastic.
By that you mean it's not.
No, it's
No.
literally like
Oh.
It's like
a lot of people contest it to be the best game.
Really?
Yeah,
I might play it.
It's-
What was this?
it's the GameCube remake of the
GameCube,
original.
like 2002 or something.
Yeah, something like that. It was really good.
Really?
It was the exact same game,
except they just improved everything that was bad.
amazing graphics. I don't remember if the tank controls are fixed even a little bit. It might be the same thing.
Well, that's
Did
what I
they-
wanted to.
But
Did
like,
they bring back the original voice cast or?
God, I don't know. Honestly,
I don't remember the voice acting from remake.
I don't remember. It wasn't awful. It wasn't awful. So either they didn't, or those guys got way better. Either is possible. But yeah, there was a lot of good stuff about Resident Evil, the original. Like, it was scary at the time.
Yeah, most definitely. It brought about something completely new to the video game series.
Like, both this and the original Silent Hill are like the grandpappies of survival horror.
Really though.
I really liked the puzzles. I feel like that was a place that Resident Evil, the first one, excelled at a lot. And it seems like every game afterwards, they just kept on toning down the puzzles over and over again.
Well, you want to play Moonlight Sonata again on the piano and open up the door?
Hey man, it was great.
It was great. Yeah, I agree that the puzzles were really good. I don't know if they got like downplayed until like 4, maybe definitely 5.
It's not so much that they got downplayed; it's that they decreased the amount overall.
Like they were just less.
Yeah, they were.
Well, yeah,
just less.
everything in 1 was a puzzle. It was
Right.
a puzzle game with survival horror on it.
Right.
But out of all the good stuff, there's still the bad stuff. Like even like the controls and the camera, that's kind of a subjective thing. I like it. Even now, I like it.
What about the plot? Do you like the plot?
The plot's pretty silly.
The plot's
Well,
really silly.
I thought the plot for the first game was pretty.
They're
solid.
all silly.
Dude, they're pretty out there.
They're all silly. So this what was the pharmaceutical company makes this virus that reanimates the dead. So they kidnap a bunch of people, kill them, make the zombies whatever, and then Stars from Raccoon City like, oh crap, there's stuff going on up here. So they send a team up there. That team gets destroyed. Like that was a good try. Send another one. See what happened. And that's the one you play as.
They didn't know the first team got destroyed though. They
Yeah.
lost contact.
They just they went
Like, you
missing. I know it's a
You don't
rescue
leave a man
party.
behind.
It was a rescue party. I
And
understand
you go
it.
in and they're eaten by zombies, and you can't get out because there's zombies out there. So you blow the place up. That's the logical course
Dude,
of action.
you know who's the worst Stars member?
Who?
Brad Vickers.
Brad Vickers. He just like he gets scared.
He's
He's,
like-
just
he's-
I'm out.
He's the pilot. It's like, oh man, there's dogs out there.
Dude.
See you guys. Fuff, 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 fuff. And he
That's
gets
so
kick
true.
bails.
They were even yelling at the helicopter. They're like, "No, don't go." And it's like, dude,
It's pretty bad.
come on. You left all of them in there.
They were just dogs.
I
Just
mean,
dogs. They were zombie dogs.
Some freaking scary dogs.
They were really scary dogs, but they were dogs. And
Yes.
you're the Special Tactics and Rescue Service. And you're like, oh, no, dogs. Shoot them. I mean, I know it's not as simple as just shoot them, but you're a
Yeah.
trained person. You were trained to deal with this kind of stuff, and you bail.
Put yourself in his shoes. Like when you know the previous helicopter went missing, he's like, "Dogs, they took out a helicopter. I gotta get out of here." It's like the first group couldn't handle this. What makes them think I can handle
I
this?
haven't thought of that. Like,
didn't
Brad
think about
Vickers
it that
flies
way.
in, sees the dogs, like, whoa, that's what happened to the last people. Those dogs took out a helicopter. Oh no, I didn't think about that. That's pretty funny.
I do just want to clarify though that this wasn't like the first survival horror kind of game.
No.
This was actually conceived as a remake for another Capcom game,
This is a little. What?
Sweet Home.
Oh,
Sweet
yeah,
Home,
I do remember
which is
that.
a horror themed game.
Yeah.
But I mean, they took kind of like design stuff from another game from 1992, which is
Mhm.
4 years prior to Resident Evil, called Alone in the Dark.
Alone in the Dark is what I thought you were gonna say. I was like, that's not made by Capcom.
No. They looked at Alone in the Dark and kind of took stuff from that to make
That
Resident
has
Evil.
that has the same control scheme and camera setup, right?
I don't know. I've never played Alone in the Dark.
I think it
I've
has
never
the
really
same
looked
stuff.
at it.
I don't know. But yeah, I thought you were gonna say Alone in the Dark.
Well, I did eventually.
Eventually.
There's a
But,
build up, pacing.
Gotta get there. Yeah, the plot for the first one was pretty silly. Even after like the whole bail dogs thing.
I mean, they get stuck in the mansion. They have to find out what's in the mansion.
They split up.
They do split up. Wesker
They
goes
are like
one
a
way.
special operations team, and they split up.
They're not special operations officers. They're a team.
I think that's because the leader of the special operations, Wesker, he's got
He
something
bailed.
funky going on. He has his own plans.
He is not the friendliest dude.
No.
I mean, he gives nice hugs, but I mean, not
Really
nice
nice
guys.
hugs.
I mean, they're the best. They're pretty killer.
You know. Matthew, are you okay?
That was the worst pun ever.
I've made much worse puns.
I'm not sure.
But there's plenty of hidden plot in the first game because it's not even it wasn't an accident. Wesker put everyone up there because he wanted to retrieve information from the mansion. So he just kind of sends his buddies like, "Yeah, go do your own thing. Let's split up." So while he's going to get his information, he just has his own buddies just kind of messing around.
Well, no, he didn't go there again. He was hired by Umbrella to lead them there to get killed and experimented on.
Right.
He
but-
wasn't there to kill.
That didn't
You
work
guys
out
go.
well, did it?
I gotta go find something.
Even
no, he
from-
was there to get them killed.
Even from there, he was planning on betraying Umbrella. Like, he wanted them killed, but more importantly, he wanted to inject himself.
He wanted to be the virus.
He wanted to be the virus. It was his test grounds. Like, he was testing out his newly acquired super body.
Do you think we should move on to the next one?
Yeah, we talked a lot on the first one about.
I mean that's
About-
natural. Though, like
Yeah, it is the starter. Like,
Exactly. Kicked it off.
like when we go to 2, we're not gonna be like, man, that control scheme though.
I mean, we'll say like it was pretty much the same thing. It was
Essentially.
stupid and
The voice acting wasn't as bad.
Not as bad.
It wasn't the worst thing ever. Like 1, which was the best thing ever.
I don't know enough about 2. I know about the first 4 games. I know they're like control wise they're more of the same.
Well,
The graphics in 2 look a lot better.
they do look a lot better. That's
Do you
because
have-
I don't.
I can look it up.
I don't know if they did this in the first one, but I know the second one used pre-rendered backgrounds. Like essentially the whole game, except what moved around, was pre-rendered.
Yes. Yeah. And the graphics in Resident Evil 2 are real-time generated, and thus movable.
But the plot of the games is like I don't know much about the second one. The first one is they're in the mansion and the outbreak hasn't happened yet. The second game is the start of the outbreak. Like the whole city is going to hell, and you play as Leon and Claire.
Oh, that's why I didn't like 2, because 2 the initial plot is just okay, we need to leave, but first let me see if I can get any survivors first, and he's also trying to like hook up with Claire.
Trying to
When
hook
I
up with Claire.
say hook up, that's not what I mean. I mean he's just trying to get back with her so they can escape together.
Yeah.
And on that little journey, he runs into Ada Wong, and he gets this little crazy crush, and he's like, "Oh, Ada, I'll do anything to help you." And Ada's just like, "I'll use this guy," and Ada like helps him get into the lower facility, somewhere he shouldn't be, because that's not what he's trying to do. He's just trying to escape.
Well, he's trying to get her to escape too, and she's like,
Right.
"Yo, I'm not about that. I can escape fine."
Wasn't this guy like that was his first?
He was
day
his
on the
first
job?
day on the job. First day, and it's like, oh, jeez, this is one crazy training mission.
I mean, I would have been out.
I wouldn't.
mean-
like he even bothered to go to the police station to check on the station.
No.
I wouldn't have done it. I would have bailed.
I would have been out. Like I would have reported that to someone else. Be like, "Yo, drop a nuke over here."
Oh, funny you say that.
Oh yeah.
No, we're not at that game yet. Shush. But like, you mentioned like, oh, this is why I didn't like 2 because Leon's plot. You didn't mention Claire's plot at all.
Well, Claire's plot's pretty stupid, but I have a soft spot for Sherry.
What's stupid about Claire's plot?
Actually, no. I actually really like Claire's plot now that I think about it, because it's just her
What?
trying to.
Wait.
I called him on it, and he's like,
Wait.
wait, I don't have any real reasons. Never mind, I liked it. It was aight.
The thoughts came to me after the words did. But she's just trying to find her brother, because
He's
he's
trying to
off.
find Chris.
Yeah, she's.
She just
And-
trying to find Chris.
Early
That's
on, though,
perfectly
you
fine.
find out that Chris is in Europe.
Well, yeah, that's what Code Veronica's about.
I know, but like early on in the game,
But she doesn't have that knowledge. That's like outsider
I
player
mean,
knowledge,
if-
right?
you play as Leon, right?
Yeah.
You find Chris's like diary that's like, "Oh, I'm going to Europe. I'm sorry, Claire."
But at that point,
didn't
she's already in the city, though.
Yeah.
I know, but like at that point, get out.
Well, that's what
Leave.
That's what the game's about. They're trying to escape.
But he can't just leave Ada, because he thinks she's a
He hadn't met Ada
bystander.
at that point. Like, get out. Don't look for survivors still, because they split up after that.
They do split up a lot. Like, alright, you and I are both go look for survivors.
No, stop. Everyone's dead,
Is
or they're about to be.
they're about to be.
Just
they're
go.
gonna.
Just go.
But yeah, Claire's like my favorite character.
I understand that.
But
Sweetheart.
her whole thing with Sherry and William Birkin are kind of weird because he impregnates her and everything with the virus.
I mean, yeah.
So William Birkin's the big bad, and he was making the G virus, which isn't the T virus. Don't get confused.
No.
It's
too
a
many.
G virus
Too many viruses.
for William Birkin. G for William Birkin.
Because he's the real OG.
He's the real OG. It's the OG virus. And the G virus transformed him into his scariness with the big eye and everything. It's spooky, scary
Now,
skeletons.
you said the big eye and you touched your shoulder. I hope you know that they can't see you touch your shoulder.
You can, though. It's right here.
On your right shoulder.
Right here.
On your right shoulder.
It's right here.
Okay,
It's right there
it's
on
right
on his shoulder. But that's not important. It's not like the eye being on his shoulder is important. He's the
It's
big
Illuminati
bad.
stuff right there.
It's Illuminati. That's whoa. It's the wrong game.
Let's not go there. Right now.
We're getting there. But so William Birkin's the big bad. He made the G virus. He's an umbrella person.
Yeah.
He's an umbrella dude. He's making a new virus, and he's like, oh crap. And he's like, I inject myself. I'll be the strong person. And he turns into Monster
Well,
Dude.
no, there's a
His
reason
wife
he
is the
injects
psychopath,
himself.
right?
He's doing testing with it.
No,
Yeah.
he knows
His wife is the psychopath, right?
his wife is psycho.
His wife is pretty
But-
psycho, yo.
basically, he knows Ada and other groups are interested in taking away his research, so he protects it by hiding it in himself. He
And his
injects
share.
himself.
Destroy it.
He doesn't want to destroy it.
It's his research, man.
It's his research.
Look what it's doing.
Well, I mean, he didn't know that was gonna happen.
But now that he
did.
knows,
Or maybe he did. I don't know.
I mean, it was his precious research, and he didn't want anyone to take it away from him, so he injected himself because no one can destroy it if it's
Dude,
in
just
him.
dump it down the sink.
Oh yeah.
Let the
Just
rats get
dump it
mutated.
into a water system.
The thing-
That always works.
Come on, not everything I poured on my sink goes down someone's throat at some point.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying like the animals it's gonna infect.
Yeah, the rats, man. You get giant rats.
Giant
Giant
rats.
spiders, like in the sewer. Giant crocodile.
Giant
Oh.
crocodiles.
Dude, let's not.
Dude, can we?
There are a ton of interesting mutations that go on in Resident Evil. I like that actually. In a lot of zombie shows, a lot of the times, the furthest thing you get from a human that gets mutated is a dog.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil doesn't care about that. They'll mutate anything. They're like
Resident Evil 1 mutated a plant. Resident Evil 1, they're like, there's a plant, yeah, fucking mutate it, you know, it'll fight. Fight for us. It's kind of a silly idea, though, to make a bioweapon that you can't control.
I
It
mean,
really is though.
Like,
And that's
if
why
I...
people make machines, but then the machines become self-aware,
And
and then
it's
you
like,
can't control
We're
them.
dipping into, like, Space Odyssey over here.
Yeah.
But, like, if I inject Gibson, I'm like, attack Gavin. He could attack Gavin, or he could attack me.
I become mindless. You can't tell me who to attack. I'll attack everybody.
Whoever he sees.
Just, who's there first? You dead. But two was really good. I don't know if I like it more than the first one, outside of nostalgia. Like, the first is the best in terms of nostalgia.
Yeah. I mean,
Gameplay wise, I don't like it so much. The first one felt almost Metroidvania, where you have the entire map. You have access to the entire map, and the only thing stopping you is like certain key items. 2 felt more railed, I
Linear?
guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
linear. Because you have certain areas you can explore, but mostly it's go from one point to the next point.
Well, the way it works is, like, you go from this big area to this big area. And the in-between is what you're talking about, where it's on rails.
Right.
Like, when you get to the police station, do whatever the fuck you want in the police station. Like, there's obviously, it's like the mansion where the doors are locked and whatnot, you gotta find the keys, but, like, there's a big chunk of the game that takes place in this big area.
yeah.
Right.
And then you leave that area, go to another big area, the sewers or the lab or whatever.
It seems to me like if you drew a straight line, and then along the line you drew circles where you wanted the player to spend time.
That would be what it is, yeah. And 1 just takes, like, the circle and makes it the game.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot better. I just want I want a real world. Not a real world, but like,
I definitely don't want that as my world.
Yeah. and
I just want a world that I can explore.
But, that's pretty much all on 2. There's not much different about 2 from 1.
Oh, there's a lot more bonus content.
There's a lot more bonus content.
I am down with the
Costumes.
bonus content.
Sweet costumes,
It's
though.
pretty great, man.
They add the costumes. They add the tofu mode in the hunk
Oh,
mode.
yeah. The bonus scenarios. I totally forgot. You play as a big hunk
Not
of tofu.
you don't. Oh, you said a hunk of tofu. I thought you were combining
No.
hunk and tofu.
No, that's bad wording. You play as Hunk, who is a Umbrella Special Operations Officer.
He's a cleanup dude.
It's a cleanup crew. He's trying to eliminate the survivors. That's kind of what Operation Raccoon City delves into, but that game
Yeah.
is different.
We don't talk about that.
And Tofu was a hitbox detector that they used. And they were like, hey man, bonus content, let's do it.
That's
I
all
think
you
his game's like 20 minutes long. His scenario, it's like 20
Wow.
minutes long. It's not a long game.
Right.
But like the tofu turns different colors when you get hit.
That's awesome.
It's
I
great.
didn't know that was in there.
Like it's like, you know, when you're playing regular, like Leon or whatever, he like limps or whatever.
Yeah.
Tofu just changes colors.
That was a good thing that they had in there.
Yeah, was that
Yeah.
in 1? That was in 1.
I don't.
Limping?
Yeah.
I know you definitely you had
think
movement
so.
speeds, so you definitely walked slower.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you actually limped.
But like when you get hurt, it changes how you move.
Also,
Yeah, and it visibly changes how your character holds themselves.
Yeah, like they'll hold their
Yes.
rib cage or something. Hold their cage.
didn't Resident Evil 2 also introduce the difficulty system? Resident Evil 1 didn't have any difficulties. It was just the
Well,
game.
in Resident Evil 1, you could play as Jill or Chris, and Chris's is harder. It's
Right.
not called hard mode. but it's harder.
But if you wanted the
Yeah.
complete story, you'd still have to play both
Yes.
characters.
No,
no.
No.
because when you're playing Jill, Chris gets left out.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's the same thing, but they swap the palettes.
But both characters do make it out at the end.
Right. Depending
Uh,
on the ending you get.
Well, the true ending.
The true ending.
The true-
Where they both get out and the place blows up and everything. So it ends like the same way, but if you play as Jill, Chris is captured and you have to free him at the end. But if you play as Chris, Jill is captured and you have to free her at the end.
Okay, so it's essentially the same
Uh,
story.
Does
yeah,
Chris get
it's-
to be a Chris sandwich?
I guess so. But I mean, Jill is a lot easier. You have more inventory space and everything.
Right.
So
Chris can take more hits, though.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. So it's a different type of difficulty.
Yeah.
And
Chris,
plus, 2
Chris is
definitely
like
has
a lot more of a tank kind of character, as opposed to Jill, who's supposed to be a little more
Alright.
agile.
Did Resident Evil 1 have the infinite rocket launcher if you beat the game fast enough?
I'm not sure, probably.
2 does, and I was wondering if that was the first place they introduced it.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't know about a lot about bonus content
I'm-
because I was a kid
I'm about the bonus content.
and I was bad. So
There
it's
was-
lucky I beat the game at all.
There's also a battle mode in Resident Evil 2.
What's that?
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Never mind. I know what that is.
They introduced that.
if you beat Extreme Battle Mode 1, you unlocked Ada Wong as a playable character in battle mode, and if you beat Extreme Battle Mode 2, you got Chris it's Redfield, right?
Redfield, yeah.
You got Chris Redfield as a playable character. And other than besides bonus costumes, that's what the bonus content was.
Alright, so
I think we got all we can out of 2. Is there anything anyone else has to say on 2?
I can't think of anything.
No.
No, that's pretty good.
On to the next one.
On to 3. Nemesis, which is my favorite.
Dude.
Nemesis is my favorite one
Of the first 4,
of all
up
of
to
them.
Nemesis is good, man.
I wouldn't compare the first 4 to the last 3, because they just feel like a different type of game.
They are different
They
types
are
of games,
different.
So
but they're still part of the
very
same
much.
series. And out of the
Yeah.
series, 3 is my favorite.
Of the first 4, 3 is definitely my favorite.
3.
I love what they introduced with the Nemesis, though.
The Nemesis was so great. Like
Like
Oh
you,
my
you
goodness.
first meet him and he just
He
destroys
takes-
your part.
he takes Brad Vickers and he's like, boom! He like shoves this like little spikadoo through his face.
Yeah.
It was like, oh
and tosses him
damn!
down. And then right there on the spot, you're given a choice: run inside the police station or
Fight.
fight. And it's just like, I'm not ready to make a decision like this.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me of an Easter egg in 2 that I forgot. In 2, if you beat the game in a certain amount of time or something, there was some requirement. You had to beat the game.
Right?
Never mind, you didn't have to beat the game. If you have 3 data on there, you did something. Shut up, Connor. You did something. In 2, when you're headed to the police station, you can take a little bit of the alternate route, which doesn't change anything in the game. Take a little bit of the alternate route, you see Brad Vickers' zombie. That's a funny Easter egg.
Oh,
that's
actually, that's
interesting.
very important. Because if you kill Brad Vickers, on him is the key that unlocks the locker with the alternate costumes.
That's right, it is. So you did have to beat the game sometime.
But in Nemesis, like, with that choice system,
The live choice
that was
system.
really neat. And I've even seen people play on YouTube where they choose, like, say, I'm going to fight the Nemesis, and they just run over to the body, grab the key, and
This bail.
bail. It's, oh my gosh. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Dude, you fight. You get all the cool stuff. You get the gun parts. You get all the first aid spray containers. You get everything. There's like 7 total fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And there's
It's
7.
ridiculous.
There's 7 bonus items.
And you can't kill this guy.
Oh. My favorite part is when you're in the police station and it looks really familiar. Like, oh, hey, this is in Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
And you're walking around and you go in this room and you're about to go up the stairs and Nemesis busts through the wall.
I remember
Oh,
that.
God. Oh, that was so scary. He was like Kool-Aid Man's through the wall. And you're like, oh, Jesus.
I mean, they definitely know how to do jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's survival horror and everything, but there are still jump scares.
It was scary.
They will get you.
I really liked the idea they brought along with Nemesis, because you see a lot of games nowadays, like Slender or Amnesia was another one
Amnesia's
that
a
did it.
really
I'm
good
trying to
one.
think of the Outcast
I
one.
think I know where you're going with it.
Outlast, yeah, where you have a big enemy that's constantly chasing you throughout the map.
Outlast. Oh my freaking gosh.
I just like how it's such a simple idea that Resident Evil 3 did, and it wasn't like touched upon again majorly until so long.
I just imagine their thought process like, what's missing in 1 and 2? And some guy's like, well, I mean, you only fight the final boss at the end of the game. What if he beat your ass all game? They're like, this guy deserves a raise.
Let's see what you do. You fire that guy and then take his idea.
There you go.
And then keep the money and
You go.
give everyone else a raise.
You go, that was a stupid idea. Slap, get out of here, get your things. You fire. And they're like, all right, guys, that was a really good idea.
Did no one write that down?
Did someone write that down? We're using that.
It's such a good mechanic, though.
Yeah.
It's really good. They introduced a couple more mechanics. They had a quick turn,
Yes.
like a 180
that's
turn.
Been in
I remember Gibson was playing 2 just earlier, and he goes, "Oh, there's no quick turn." I was like, "Hey, man, this ain't 3." They also had a ducking, dodging system.
Yeah,
Yes.
dodge button. It was really unreliable.
It was really unreliable, but it was there.
Mm.
And the whole live choice system, which I don't think they've done again,
No.
but they
Actually,
should.
Resident Evil 4 might have had a few situations where it wasn't a run or fight. It was just a sort of, hey, you can get to the end with this option or this option. Which one do you want to go through, though?
It wasn't quite the same.
No, not
I wish it
really.
was.
I don't remember. Did any of the previous like mutants or zombies use guns?
Not
prior to
in
this?
not in 1 and 2, but I know Nemesis has
Nemesis
his
had
rocket launcher.
man. Like
So scary.
he's taking souls, and he's actually created to hunt down the remaining stars members.
Yeah, his whole thing is that's why he's like stars.
Yeah.
He's Hunk's replacement.
Oh, yeah.
He's a cleanup crew.
Mm. He was a better tyrant. And
He was a better tyrant.
Yeah, in Resident Evil 1, Wesker programs Tyrant to kill the Star team,
Yeah.
But he's bad.
but he is bad.
This is an upgraded tyrant.
And that's
And he's better.
That's old Tyrant with just the big hand. You gotta
Yeah.
get new Tyrant with the suit or the trench coat or whatever. Not a suit. But 3 is like my favorite.
And we had the ammunition creation system in this one. as
Oh
well.
yeah, that was really cool.
Mhm.
It kind of made ammo less scarce, but you had to carry more stuff.
One thing that we didn't comment on is like ammo and saves were limited.
Super limited.
Like you had to be super conservative with this. And was it in 3 that they made it like you have infinite saves or something? I remember watching gameplay of 1 and the rolls that you had to have in your inventory to save at the typewriter.
The ink
The
things.
The ink
yeah.
ribbons?
Ink
Infinite
ribbons,
ink
yes.
ribbons?
Yeah, and it just said maybe. Like,
You
they
think that
had
was on
unlocked
on
something?
easy mode? Because I'm
Maybe.
pretty
I'm
sure.
pretty sure easy mode has infinite ink ribbons. I don't
Okay.
think
It
any of
was
the other
just
modes
easy
have
mode.
that. Does 4 have ink ribbons?
I
I don't think
it
so.
does.
I think you just
doesn't
walk up on a typewriter
I don't
and you're
think.
like, oh hey.
I don't think it does. I played.
We'll
I
get there
played
in a
through.
moment.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're good.
This is like
It's
the only
fine.
time he's talked and you're
I
like,
know.
shut up, Matt.
Because I was
It's-
saying it before you.
No, it's fine. It's
My
just
bad.
like
So-
don't be mad that I'm quiet. It's
Didn't
just like
3 start the mercenaries?
oh.
It wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't
Yeah,
the same
yes.
thing as the mercenaries on 5.
The minigame?
Yeah.
Although
The
wasn't
Mercenaries Operation Mad Jackal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
wasn't Mercenaries just an upgraded battle mode though?
Yeah. Essentially.
Story wise, something that 3 did that I actually didn't like is that you know how I said 2 was like a straight line with circles? Well, 3 was more of an open world, but it had event triggering. So say that scene you talked about with the stairwell and Nemesis busting through the wall, you could, if you were following a walkthrough and you didn't read like a certain step, you could get to the stairwell and go, well, I'm here, why isn't Nemesis breaking through the wall so I can progress through the story? But it was like you had to pick up a key and only then Nemesis would break through the wall.
Well, that's your fault for not reading the whole walkthrough.
Well, no, yeah, but I really dislike how you can get to certain points in the map
Yeah.
and be unable to progress because you miss this one thing.
It's like a locked door.
I know exactly
gotta
what
get
he's
the key.
talking about though.
I know what you're talking about. It's just I don't feel
It
sympathy
is
for
frustrating, but a lot of games do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff where you need a certain item.
But it's like similar. I mean, it's really weird to pull out from there. It's just like it's like in Wind Waker when you knew it was like Swabbies.
that. It was Swabbies. That was so stupid.
Yeah, it was like Swabbies is the answer. It's just
But
like
you
why
didn't
can't I
trigger the
progress?
event.
But you didn't trigger the event for that.
I'm perfectly fine with locked doors because then you know it's right there, it's locked, and you need a key. But when you enter an area and nothing happens,
Well, unless you know something's supposed to happen, then how would you walk into the room and be like, "Hey, nothing's happening"?
That's a pretty good point. Too.
that
like
is
you're
a-
talking about someone playing a walkthrough. I'm just
Right.
playing the game.
Yeah.
If I don't have the key yet, and I don't know something's supposed to happen, then there's nothing wrong.
That is a fair point, but if you're playing blind and you're just going through this open area and you don't know how to progress, even if you do pick up the key, you won't know the right area that
You just have
changes.
to explore. That's
You-
part of playing.
That's part of playing the
blind.
game. Like you're like,
Yeah.
man, the game should be easier.
It just seems like
It
a
should
really
be more
weird
linear.
kind. It just
Just saying that you didn't want it to be linear.
it's a really weird type of open world because it's one of those things where you could link the wrong type of solution. Like if I played it blind and Nemesis happens to break through the wall the 5th time I went through a circle, and then I went to Connor and Connor was playing the game. Connor's like, how do I get further? And I say, oh, I know what part you're at. You just have to walk through the area 5 times in a row. It's like, I didn't know that you picked up an item, or that I picked up an item that caused Nemesis, but because it's so vague, it's really hard to understand.
So here's the thing about that. That event you're talking about where he busted the wall, I'm not sure that's a triggered event.
I think he
so
was
much
just
as,
using that as an example.
but like I don't know any other events that are triggered in a way like that. We might just be talking about something that doesn't exist. Like
I don't know.
when I first played through that, it just happened. I don't remember it not happening the first time I walked through that.
I'm pretty sure you can reach the stairwell and proceed through that area without him breaking through the wall.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we almost did a playthrough of that. Like we were, but like, and we were playing through it, and like, it wasn't like he walked into the stairwell and like nothing happened. He did walk in there, and he walked around for a couple of seconds. There's a table on the wall next to the stairwell, and he walks
Right.
towards the table. So it's been a while that he's been in the room. It's been like 10, maybe 15 seconds. And then Nemesis breaks through the wall. So it's not like, I mean, I guess if you left the room, then you wouldn't see Nemesis, but
I think it's less of a get an item, trigger the event thing, and more walk past this line and it triggers the event.
Okay.
So something else I remember is in the first game, and I think the second game too, whenever you went upstairs, it was its whole own loading screen
Yes.
thing.
Mhm.
3 didn't have that. 3, you just walk
I
upstairs.
think it had it at certain points.
Maybe just to build tension.
I think it was like to load a different map area.
yeah, that
Special
would make more
stairs.
sense.
Special
Yeah.
state.
But like not all the stairs had to be
Right.
like load screens and everything. Because I remember like reading about that when I was researching 3 beforehand, that they didn't have that. And I was watching gameplay of 3 earlier this week, and there was a loading screen at one set of stairs.
Mm.
However, it wasn't at every set of stairs.
There's also something like environmental interactiveness.
Oh yeah,
Like oil drums and stuff.
Yes.
That's neat.
Oh, big red oil drums.
Especially with Nemesis nearby.
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh, man. You need them.
So, in story-wise, the first half of 3 happens before 2, and the second half, what happens in the middle point that sections that off? Because you have an entire
Doesn't
game.
Jill get infected and then
Yes.
you play as Carlos, right?
Yeah, and that's like 2 days later.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jill
I-
gets infected and she's
I
like
forgot
out of
about-
commission.
I forgot about the time skip.
There'd have to be a time skip.
I mean, Carlos could have found the antidote in like a single day,
But it did.
but he didn't.
It's kind of hard navigating a city like that
Mhm.
that's torn to bits and Nemesis there and everything. Like,
Except Carlos wasn't part of Stars.
yeah.
So-
But I mean,
Nemesis wouldn't. I don't know if Nemesis would just be like, "Sup, bro," and keep going. But he's not looking for Carlos like he
Yeah.
is Jill.
but I mean, still got to worry about Jill.
Definitely. Nemesis is a buster. He's like, and she's supposed to be doing something. Something's supposed to be happening, right? Hey, wake up.
I'm pretty sure Nemesis would have just killed her on the spot. Take any moment he can.
Stars. Can I just mention how the movies fucked him up?
I haven't seen the
I
Nemesis.
haven't even.
The movies are awful. In the movie itself, this is bad because he's Brad Vickers. First of all, in the movie,
Wait,
in the
Nemesis
movie, he is Brad
Vickers.
Vickers.
Are you serious?
Wait, so
No, yeah.
First of all, what I want to know: how does Brad Vickers go from like 5'10" to 6 foot guy to like an 8 foot monster?
Here's the thing about the movies: they don't give a fuck. Like
Can we quote that? 2014?
quoted, they don't give a fuck. The movies totally jack up everything Resident Evil. Like you saw the most recent movie where they had Leon and Barry. And they didn't act anything like Leon and Barry in the games. Anything. It's so bad. I'd go on a whole tirade about the movies.
That's not what we're talking
We're
about.
not talking about the movies. I just want to mention how they fucked him up. But Stilts, Gibson, to answer your question.
Stilts. I
Obviously.
see.
Obviously.
Okay.
I mean, when you get mutated by this, you get stilts.
In
It
your
just-
body.
It just happens.
Dude, zombies with stilts? Resident Evil 7, get on it.
It's scary.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, are we good on 3?
Yeah, anything else about 3? Gives me want to talk about bonus
Bonus
content.
content, man. So, other than like the 2 weapons you can get from killing Nemesis, there are the 5 additional costumes you can get by completing hard mode. But it's not even as simple as completing hard mode, because to get the key that opens the room or the boutique store, it's like a clothing boutique store. So to get the key for that, there's no special zombie that you kill. You have to beat the game in under 7 hours and 30 minutes, and you can only use a maximum of 30 ink ribbons. So, first off, you have to do that to get the key. And then, each costume is associated with a rank. And when you beat hard mode, depending on your rank, you get so many costumes. So A would give you the maximum, 5, all 5. And if you got B, you'd get 4, and C 3, and so on.
Yes.
But other than that, there's the obvious infinite rocket launcher if you beat the game. I don't know if it's actually tied with how fast you beat the game.
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I never exactly went for speed on these games.
The people who do.
I mean, some people can just run through everything, and I'm just
we watched SGDQ play Resident Evil 2. He beat it in like an hour and 10, something
Wasn't
like that.
it? Wasn't
he
it
didn't
2
even,
hours?
like- I don't
No,
know. It wasn't. It wasn't. It
It
definitely.
wasn't 2.
It was closer to 1.
It was like an estimate of 110 or something like that.
Yeah, I think he did it in like 55.
He beat it really quick. He just bust through it.
So it definitely had the infinite. But that was pretty much it. Just the alternate costumes.
Oh, right. There are multiple endings too. Because
Yeah. There are multiple endings in a lot of these games.
I know, but I want to mention these.
Okay.
There's one. This is important because I remember I had an argument with Gibson about whether Barry was dead or not. He's not dead. He's in canon. He's alive. He saves Jill and Carlos.
Right.
He like flies in. He Brad Vickers it. Jumps down in the helicopter. They hop in.
Brad Vickers it.
Yeah, Brad Vickers saved him at the end of
I
one.
need that in quotes
We're
too.
quoting everything today.
He Brad Vickers did.
Is Barry saving them the canon ending?
Yes.
Because I know you can beat Carlos's friends to the helicopter and not even have to deal with that.
Yeah, you can, but the canon, like the main plot of it,
Right.
is like you have to destroy the helicopter or something. Point is, you don't get in the helicopter, and then you keep going. You like fight Nemesis on a clock tower or something. I don't remember if that's
Right.
near the end, but the very end of the game is Barry flying them out, and then
Yeah.
thermonuclear boof.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I remember the
Death toll
4
exceeding 100,000.
A lot.
endings. The you guys beat the mercenary to the helicopter and get away, all perfect and fine. And then it uses that whole fight or flight. It's not those words, but it's those
live choice.
options. The live choice for the helicopter. You can either negotiate with the dude, or you can just straight up fight him and destroy the helicopter.
Either of those choices don't let you get the helicopter.
Right. But one just gives you an extra boss battle. That's all I want.
You just want to fight.
I just want to fight. I want to use that awesome loot I got for killing Nemesis.
I don't have anything else to talk about with 3. It's my favorite.
It's a pretty good game. I like it.
So we can move on to Code Veronica now.
Awesome.
Code Veronica has a great story. Has some bad Steve. I hate Steve.
I just want to comment, like, we're only doing, like, main canon games right now.
We're not
because
gonna-
there are so many spin-offs, like Survivor.
An
which is,
Outbreak,
like, the worst
Gaiden.
game.
It's all bad.
For those that don't know, Survivor is like the arcade game that you can play at, like, the movie theaters and stuff, but with a PS controller.
And bad.
It's awful.
Like Time Crisis, but bad.
Don't play it.
But Code Veronica X, Gibson's played much more Code Veronica X than I have. I haven't finished Code Veronica X. I know he has, though.
I have.
I've watched him play it, but I haven't beaten it myself.
Veronica X is just a remake of Code Veronica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a more modern version.
Like, the
It's
original was on Sega Dreamcast, and then they made it again for PS2, and then they re-released it for Xbox 360 and such.
Yeah.
Code Veronica also had the best knife mechanics. Connor
Oh,
loves describing
man.
them.
It's the worst thing ever. Every frame that the knife goes into an enemy, like, I swing, it gives in here, it goes like, boom, 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 boom. Like, there's like 10 hits.
There's
Because every frame my knife is in him counts as a hit.
yeah, no enemy has hit
Invincibility.
no one has invincibility frames.
It's so bad.
So until you finish the swipe, you just get all these hits.
ridiculous. That's so
Do you think
broken.
that they meant to do that, or do you think that was just like a coding
It
error?
was definitely coded in a way that enemies didn't get invincibility.
Because, like, you couldn't do it in
frames.
any of the other games.
Jeez.
Like, how many handgun bullets did you have at the end of the game? Just because
Oh.
you didn't need them.
By the
Well-
end of the game, I had like 450 handgun bullets just because the knife was so good. But there were definitely certain types of enemies where you couldn't just fight with a knife and go away without getting hit.
But, like, regular zombies, just kill them.
You could just cheese them.
The knife was in the other games, right?
Yeah, knife is in all the
been in
games.
All the games.
So like,
It's just bad.
yeah, I was gonna say like
it's the coding for this particular
that's
game.
so crazy.
They were just like, hey, you know,
Yeah,
who
sure.
needs invincibility
Well, why
frames
not?
from the knife?
Who made this game? Was it made by a different like group?
No.
Because that seems like
That's
a
I
really
can
odd
look in a
coding
moment.
error to
I can
have
look
in
real
there.
quick.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Either that's just like a really
The developer
crazy design
of
choice.
Code Veronica X was Next Entertainment, and the developer of this was Next Tech. So, well, that's just the Sega port. Never mind.
That just sounds like
Capcom Production Studio 4 made Resident Evil 1.
I see.
Next Tech Entertainment made Code Veronica X, which Next Tech Entertainment, I assume, is like, or Next Entertainment and Next Tech, I assume, are the same thing.
Oh, I guess a good question would be, was the knife thing in Code Veronica? Just
That's a good
That's
question.
what I
regular
was about
Code
to
Veronica?
ask.
That I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Because it could be like Gavin says, and it's just like a different company just didn't code it right.
Well,
I mean, and
they're owned by the same thing, right? Didn't you just say that? Like,
It says
It's
Code Veronica
all
was made by
published.
Capcom Production Studio 4, Next Tech, and Sega.
Right.
Okay, so it was like a dual effort.
Code Veronica is the first Resident Evil game to use a 3D background instead of pre-rendered ones.
Oh man,
Heck yeah.
technology.
Progress. You know.
Oh, it also has like the sniper rifle.
Oh,
has,
yeah.
You like look down the scope of it.
Yeah.
It's not third person anymore. You boop.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the first
I
person
remember
for the
that.
scope.
When you beat the game of Code Veronica, you had the option of playing the game again in first person.
That was hard.
wait, what?
It's
Yeah.
hard.
After
I don't remember that.
It's super hard.
there are two different types. There's Code Veronica has its own battle mode, and if you beat battle mode, you can play battle mode in first person. But if you beat the game, you can play it again in first person mode. But you need a completed file.
Is it still like tank controls in this?
It is still tank controls.
That's
The thing is,
disgusting.
it's first person, but you can only aim forward, you can only aim up, or you can only aim down.
It's the same game,
The
but
only
from the
thing-
first person.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
it's
Why would you ever do that?
It's
What-
neat.
it's a gimmick. It's a really neat thing.
Also,
that
you get to
can
play as
do.
Wesker.
You can play as Wesker.
You get to play as Claire, Chris, Steve Burnside, Wesker, and an alternate version of Claire. Which Gibson could talk all day about how bad Steve is.
Steve, I hate him. I just hate his character. But I really loved all the bonus content in Code Veronica, because in earlier games you had alternate endings, but you had alternate dialogue options in Code Veronica. Like there's a point in the game where you need 2 golden Lugers to proceed in the story, and it's like, okay, I can't get through there. I need to do a puzzle first. So you leave, do the puzzle, and you come back, and someone has triggered a trap, and now the room is closed. And oh, who do we hear? Oh, I'm sorry. Please, Claire, help me. And it's like, dude, you took my guns that I needed to proceed. And just like, please help me. And I stood there for a good 10 minutes, just like, I'll let you die, and then I'll open the door. And basically, depending on how fast you save Steve, he'll have a different dialogue towards you after he leaves the room. And that happens a few different times in the game. There's another part where you actually get control of Steve and you can play as him. And depending on the amount of zombies you kill before you finish the area, he has a dialogue option on a balcony scene that'll be different depending on how much zombies you kill.
That's pretty cool.
I really like that sort of alternate dialogue.
Yeah, Code Veronica X was something I didn't play much of. It was pretty creepy in terms of the plot.
I don't remember the plot of this one.
All you need to know is cross-dressing Alfred.
Cross-dressing Alfred was
there we
like the
go.
most psychopathic dude ever. Like, they were both experimented on, right? And, like, she went into this vegetative state.
Yeah, Alexio was basically she was the successful child. The virus, I forget which virus is in this game, but whichever one it is, it takes host in Alexia's body, but it denies Alfred's body. And not only that, because they're a royal family, there's been like a few generations of inbreeding, I guess, and just the combination of being the failure and inbreeding, I guess,
Yeah.
just left him in a really hazardous state, I guess. He wasn't very stable. So
I wouldn't say so.
he basically pretends like his sister is still around by dressing up as her and pretending to be her. And you don't learn that till later in the game, so you just go through the game like, you're Alexia, where's Alfred? And Alexia's just like, shut up. And she just leaves or whatever. And you have times where you find Alfred and he's like, I'll protect you, sister. And he fights you off because he thinks you're gonna hurt her. But,
Also, the scene with Wesker where, in this game, Wesker reappears. Like, he dies, quote unquote, in 1 from the Tyrant attack, but he shows back up in Code Veronica.
with his
And he's-
superpowers.
He's got his superpowers now. So he's like, super speed, whoosh. It's like got the whole trail behind him.
The special effects in Code Veronica were great.
It was pretty much awesome. Like, 5 was silly, but this was better than 5 could have ever been in terms of its effects.
Okay.
Just because he just shows up. And Chris is there like, Wesker, you're supposed to be dead. And he's like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's like, what's going on? If someone hadn't played the first game,
Yeah.
like they were, hey, I heard about this Resident Evil thing, may as well try it out. They'd be like, who is this guy and why is he so cool?
Yeah. No, this game actually introduced a lot of different. It still had the 180-degree turn.
It did.
Had the environmental explosive barrel drums, oral drums, whatever. But it took the dodge feature out.
It did.
It did.
Because the
It was
dodge
just-
feature was pretty bad.
It's a bad feature.
It took the dodge feature. It introduced dual-wielding pistols.
Yeah, you got double Lugers.
Yeah.
Bam bam.
And you can target 2 enemies at
Mhm.
the same time. And you got a crossbow, and you can mix arrows with gunpowder.
Mhm.
And get explosive crossbow bolts.
How many bolts did you have? You had 1 billion bolts.
Dude, bolts were so. It wasn't even that I was stockpiling them. It's that the game gave
they
you
were
so much.
everywhere.
But the game gave you so much because normal crossbow bolts were really weak.
They were trash.
Like there wasn't even in the previous Resident Evil games. Your single shot guns, you shot them and you had recoil and you had to wait. That wasn't the case with
Wait,
the
did you say
crossbow.
shotguns?
Did I just say shotguns?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
shotguns.
the
and you're,
guns.
like, holding
so.
your hands in like a pistol.
I think what I meant to say was you would shoot guns, not
Okay.
as in
Dude,
shotguns.
you shoot bullets.
This is true.
This
This
is
is not
true.
false.
But basically, you had a moment where you couldn't shoot again, but that wasn't the case with the crossbow, because you could just machine gun fire all your bolts as fast as the trigger could pull.
Oh, you remember you were playing 6, and you were like, oh, I had to reload my crossbow? Psh, don't worry about that.
You don't have to reload. You
I'll get to that when we get to 6.
you just as much as you want.
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And
But-
the other thing, they had continues in this,
They
unlike
did.
the other games, and
The other games are like, you're dead.
yeah, and you could pick up healing herbs while your inventory was full. So those are 2 things that I thought was really cool. Nice having continues. Oh my gosh.
Hate dying and then starting back at where you last saved.
Gosh, because saves, you have to use them so sparingly.
Mhm.
Ah.
I really liked the map around Code Veronica, cause I don't know, it felt like it was the sweet spot between the linear and the open world. It made sense.
It
to
seemed,
me.
when I did the little bit of playing I did and watched you play, it looked like it was just like 2. You had this little area that led to a big area, and a little area that led to a big area.
Right. But I guess it was just that the in between spots were a lot shorter.
Yeah.
So you gotta get into the open areas a lot faster.
I see that. I
Makes
understand
sense.
that. Yeah.
I feel you.
Also, there were certain things you could do in the game that actually changed the story, I guess, because there are 2 big instances. There's a boss you fight called Nosferatu,
I remember that one.
and he has poison-based attacks. And this is before Claire and Chris meet up. So you're fighting this boss, and if you get poisoned during the boss fight, after when Chris finds her, before they can leave, Chris has to find the serum or the antidote that would cure her before they can leave. So if you don't get poisoned, you don't have to go through that.
That's
And
interesting. I didn't know that.
there's another thing. When Alexia wakes up, she gets to the Antarctica place, or I think she's held in the Antarctica place. She's never not in the Antarctica base. But as soon as Chris arrives, you can meet up with Claire early and fight her right then at the beginning of the Antarctica setting. And after that, when you're supposed to find her after Nosferatu, she just won't be there because you already killed her.
That's pretty rad. I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Something this game introduced that is actually different from the other games in terms of the camera. There would be instances where it'd be the set camera and then flick set camera. But now, or sometimes, it'll swing to the new perspective.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you'll be in this corner of the room, you can't see my hand, but it's in the corner of the room, and then it would swing over to the other corner for the other camera
Spider-Man
angle.
kind of thing.
Spider-Man cam. Here we go. Instead of the static
yeah.
movement, it was a dynamic swoosh to the next side of the room, or
a dynamic swoosh.
yeah, quote me on that. Dynamic swoosh.
Connor 2014.
Man, I'm just quoting it up.
Oh my gosh, man. It's
He
amazing.
Brad Vickers did with his dynamic swoosh. Code Veronica X was it was really fun. I didn't play that much of it. What I played was fun, but like I didn't really get into it as much as the other ones, just 'cause I hated Steve. I hated Steve.
Of course you hated Steve.
I couldn't
How
go
would you
on.
like Steve?
Steve is like the worst. When you first meet him, you're just like walking through this prison, looking for Chris, and all of a sudden, dude starts shooting at you with this like turreted gun, and you're like, "What the fuck is this guy?" And he's like, "Oh,
is this
my
guy?"
bad. I was shooting at you. You're not a zombie." It's like, dude, obviously, all you did was